welcome to Soccer Dads, and today we're here with the founder of Vale Soccer Club, Mark Biaggi. Thank you, Coach Mark Biaggi, for doing this interview.
Of course.
We're here today kind of talking about parents, to the parents, and really just want to try to get their opinions, or not their opinions, get the coach's opinion and the founder of one of the biggest clubs in Southern Arizona, and really get their opinion on what it takes to run a club and what the kind of commitment level for the club. So thank you, Coach Mark Biaggi here. Thank you for being here.
Of course, no problem.
So first I want to start off today with kind of like your background, where how many years you've been coaching, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I grew up mostly in Europe. Actually, my dad was in the military for 24 years. And so soccer is everything over there. And so it was instilled in me from a young age as a player and just the passion of the sport. And then as I got older, I continued to play. And once I was done playing, quickly got involved in coaching. And so I've been doing that about 20 years now. And started the Vale Soccer Club about just over 19 years ago. And it's grown into a great club up in the southeast part of Tucson, and we're looking very much forward to bringing the same type of energy and passion to Sierra Vista.
All right. So 20 years of soccer. I mean, you've seen a lot of soccer. You've seen the growth in the United States and that. So it's pretty impressive. Very impressive background. So as a club, and your coaches, what kind of background does your coaches have in your club? Within like qualifications, certifications, anything like that, do the club have?
Yeah, wide variety. That's a good question. We have a wide variety. We have a number of coaches. I don't like to turn away anybody, so there's some coaches in our club that are very new and very inexperienced, but they're willing to learn. And then there's some coaches in our club that are highly experienced, highly licensed, and have also, coaching maybe at high school or ODP, in a variety of levels like that. I've been able to do a number of things also, and we have a number of coaches that are B and C licensed, and that are, but also a handful of coaches that are pursuing their education, starting at the grassroots levels and working their way into their D licenses, things like that. Because obtaining education and having a learning mindset a growth mindset is very important in what we do, because we want the kids to have that mindset. So we very much foster that same type of mentality at the club.
No, it's awesome having that wide experience and vast resources to you. That's awesome for a club as well. So one of the next thing I want to kind of get to is kind of like the whole development versus winning mindset. That some clubs, like you see, like they just want to kick the ball up and just score some goals with the fastest player. As a club, how does that what's your kind of philosophy? First development versus winning, kind of.
Yeah, that's a very loaded question that can have a lot of answers, but ultimately, certainly at the younger ages, we development first. We care about players that are, the phrases we will use are, ball mastery, players that are good with the ball, can make decisions under pressure, have a high level of technical execution. Those are the majority of things we focus on, all the way, honestly, up until about U14, U15. If you're not able to control the ball, it's very difficult to play the game at the higher levels once you get older. We like to have players that are very good in 1v1 situations, players that can combine with other teammates to either help keep possession or look to help us accelerate the attack and find ways to score, but then also players that are have good work ethic, good community members, can make decisions on and off the ball. Those are the type of kids we try to focus on. There's a lot of different styles out there, a lot of different game models, and certainly having players that are a little bit more physically gifted at younger ages is typically is very common in the youth game. Not to say that we don't have some of that as well, and it's very difficult to tell players not to run and not to use their physical qualities. It is an athletic sport.
It is.
However, we certainly try to put that player in situations where we demand more of them than just using that physical quality. What I like to say is, at any age group within the Vale Soccer Club, if you took their jersey off of them and you hid the logo, you should be able to see a lot of consistency, and you should be able to determine that that's a Vale Soccer Club team playing the game because of how we play the game and how we try to interact with players, how we try to coach, the standards we hold, and that you will see when kids are playing the game in training, scrimmages, and in tournament play and gameplay.
No, that's good to hear because, like sometimes you'll go to the youth level games and you'll just see like U6, U8. They're just kicking the ball to the fastest player on the field, and all they care about is winning, first development, and then, like you said, at the older ages, it does not help. So that's good to see and hear that, from.
Yeah, I think that it goes back to what I said a bit ago. I think that there's an education that needs to take place from coaches, parents, and then we have to be able to bring that to the kids to show them a higher level of the game, and things that might work when they're 7, 9, 12 may or may not work when they're 16, 18, 20.
Correct.
Not to say that speed and physical execution are not part of the game, but players that have that without the technical execution or the game understanding typically are going to have less success as they get older because of some of the things that they naturally had when they were a kid. Doesn't mean those aren't good qualities. However, we try to focus on things that are going to benefit them long term.
Thank you. One thing I want to ask is like the level of competition. Like, where do you guys are going to primary play? What kind of competition level do you guys experience throughout the club?
Yeah, good question. We have teams that play locally, and when I say locally, they'll play either here in Sierra Vista or they'll play up in Vail. We always use the phrase it's developmentally appropriate. For some kids, it might be for them to go and play in the advanced leagues within the Arizona Soccer Association, and we have a number of teams that play within that, number of players that play within that. For some players, it makes more sense to stay local and play in an in-house or a rec league that we have, or even within PCGSL. Certainly, first and foremost, players that are younger, and I'm talking between the ages of 5 and 12, 13, 14, they don't need to have a lot of travel. There's a lot of ways to get that development, and that's a very key word that gets thrown around a lot. There's a lot of ways to get development without having to travel all over the place and force kids to be in the car for hours and hours and hours. Training is a massive, massive tool. And go back to the question about winning versus development. At U10, U11, U12, the training, those extra touches, those environments are more important than the 1 60-minute game they might get that is a quote-unquote higher level. It's important to get them a lot of experiences, but the training environment and the day-to-day environment is more important than traveling. And it also reduces the family and the stress of the financial bill and things like that for these younger kids. Obviously, when kids get a little bit older, there's going to be a little bit of travel that might be more needed. It still gets a little bit misused because there's a lot of leagues now, and it can be very confusing. But ultimately, players can develop if the training is correct, and that's really the thing that we try to bring. And obviously, they have to have some games, but we can manipulate the playing and the rosters and who they play against to give them good experiences in local areas.
Yep. And you talk about like the commitment level and stuff like that. How many days a week do you guys typically train as a club?
For U8 and below, typically 2, about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, twice a week. And then U9 and above, 3 days a week.
Okay.
And then there's some teams that might do a 4th day, but it kind of depends on what their schedule is and things like that.
And what kind of, as a club or coaches, what's kind of your expectation for kids outside of the normal team sessions to try to get work in and touches on the ball?
Yeah, the reality is we preach consistency, and we try to develop soccer players versus kids who play soccer. While we have a bunch, and we're very happy to have both of those, there's a difference in not only the mentality but also the habits of a soccer player versus a kid who's playing soccer. A soccer player is a kid that's going to go home, take the ball out of his bag, play with it around the house, maybe break something every once in a while, watch an occasional game on TV, and start to create that real fuel and that real passion for the game. And so we always try to encourage that at home. We sometimes provide extra sessions, extra little small group sessions or little trainings during the summer, finishing sessions, but we certainly are trying to create players that are in love with this sport, because if they want to be here and they love the sport, they're going to develop to a certain degree, just naturally.
Right. And you'll see the difference in those players that do put that time in on the side. And those are the players that want to play at the next level, collegiate level. As a club, how do you guys help facilitate those needs of players that, those high school age kids that want to get to the next level? How would you guys as a club or coaches help facilitate that?
Yeah, really just through some of the extra trainings, like some of our high school boys this past year, they went 4 nights a week. We also do offer extra sessions. We offer a large summer program for players. Obviously, we encourage them to be doing things at home as well. But then it's the connections of the directors within Vale Soccer Club. Our boys director, girls director, our technical director, youth academy director, myself. We have also had about combined 80 years together in this sport, and we have a number of connections through coaching in ODP, through coaching in Region ODP, through working with a variety of college coaches. And we've also worked with college or with kids within our club that have now gone and experienced and played college soccer. So those are very useful things that we can always rely on. And then just the soccer world's very small, so there's connections that get made all the time. And then we obviously try to be facilitators of those players in order to help get them to those next levels if that's something they desire. But a lot of it is on them. We're just there to help guide. They've got to drive, they've got to steer and drive, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's their journey, so they got to make the process and put the work in. It's not just up to the coaches and others to make it happen.
Of course.
So, now, last question I have here, as everyone knows, the big tournament happening this summer.
Yeah.
We got the World Cup. What are you looking forward to in the World Cup this summer?
I actually got tickets in the draw, so I'm very excited.
Awesome.
I got one game, so I'm looking forward to that. The World Cup has missed me for 30 years because I've always been in a different location. Just the timing hasn't really worked well for me. Been a lifelong fan of soccer for over 35 years. Now I'll be going to my first World Cup game this summer, so that's probably first and foremost. But obviously, just the energy and the excitement and the passion of being able to watch games here in the United States. And then I think I work for U.S. Soccer. I'm very excited to see how we do. I'm excited. I support U.S. Soccer. I'm very excited to see how the players in that team do, and here, being able to support them. And so those are probably the two things I'm looking forward to the most, other than just the fanfare and the fun of it. I can't wait. I'm a soccer fan first, so
that's gonna be awesome.
Cannot wait.
Looking forward to it as well.
Yeah.
So there you have it, folks. This is from a real coach, founder of one of the biggest soccer clubs in Southern Arizona. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, subscribe, and thank you again, Mark Biaggi, for taking time. I know you're busy.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.